Well, you're coming more and more to understand that desire is born out of the contrast. And as the desire is born out of the contrast, step one of the important process for creation has taken place, because desire is born. And that is the purpose of contrast. And that means you are, whether you are using your words or not, you are offering a vibration that is requesting something from the universe. You are requesting a fulfilling of every desire, whether you put it into words or not. You cannot stand in any place without experiencing the contrast of it. And you cannot experience the contrast of anything without your magnificent mind, which was within you and yours and you even before it came into this body, that mind of you focusing the contrast and concluding a preference. You're doing it at many levels of your being. So you are radiating always requests that the universe is answering. That's step one and step two. When you ask, even if you don't consciously know you're asking, Source still hears your request and answers it. That's how the evolution of all things occurs. Even the one-celled amoeba is having a personal experience where preferences are being born. And even though the amoeba is not using the language that you use with your words, it is offering a vibrational language that Source hears and responds to. Because Source wisely understands that the leading edge perspective, that where you stand is where the premier asking takes place. In other words, what could be more relevant than what's important to you? Whether you are the one-celled amoeba or whether you're the full blossoming genius human who has concluded a preference. When you or anyone asks for anything, Source agrees and answers it. There's no competition for the resources of answering, because those resources of answering are expanding exponentially with the requesting. In fact, the more exposure to the more experience, the more asking, and the more asking, the more answering. And that is why this universe is expanding. So when you ask for something, it is always answered, and you do not have to hope that someone else does not ask for the same thing, because it is not a pack on the back of the fantasized Santa Claus that has limits. It is not a finite amount of resources. It is an infinite amount of resources that is expanding in proportion to the asking that is happening. So when you ask, it is answered every single time. You might wonder where your stuff is, because we know you're asking for things and experiences and emotions and relationships. You're asking for things that you do not today believe that you have been the receiver of yet. But we want you to understand that it's not because it hasn't been answered. It has. It is because there is a vibrational variance between your normal offering of vibration and the vibration of your desire. In other words, when you don't have enough money and so you ask for more money, whether you use words or not, that exposure to the contrast that makes you want more money gets more money on the way. In fact, it is held for you out in what we lovingly call your vibrational escrow. It's there waiting for you to become a vibrational match to it. So when you want more money, it's there for you. And if it is not yet coming into your experience in obvious manifested ways, it must be because your pattern of thought must be about not enough money instead of about the money you're asking for. And you can tell whether you are matching the vibration of something you want or whether you are matching the vibration of the opposite of what you want or the absence of what you want by the way you feel. When you feel elation, when you feel energy that you would describe as enthusiasm or passion, when you are in that vibration that you describe emotionally as appreciation, you're a vibrational match to a whole lot of things that are in your vibrational escrow, and you're moving hastily toward them. But when you feel discouraged or fear or worry or anger or even frustration, those negative emotions are your indication that the vibrational relationship between where you are and where you want to be is not lined up. In other words, you cannot be vibrating on this end of the stick and receive what's on this end of the stick. And you can tell by the way you feel which end of the emotional vibrational stick you're vibrating on. So we are going to offer to you some words today. Many of you have been listening to us for a while. Some of you are new to us in this format, but all of you were born with emotional guidance systems, so it's not going to be hard for you to quickly get up to speed with our view of how your universe works. We want you to understand that it is vibrationally based, which means words are inconsequential. Words are nice because they cause a forum of people such as this to focus similarly. And as we focus together and track together, we can have meaningful experiences together. And in fact, when several minds, through the power of the word, are focused similarly, you can offer a group request, so to speak, or a group vibration that can be rather powerful in its attraction qualities. So there are many advantages to your communication. We are not wanting to say that words don't matter, but we do want to say that words don't matter much at all in relationship to the vibration that you're offering. And you are offering vibrations much more than you are offering words. And here's the most important part. The universe is responding to your vibrations, not to your words. Sometimes your words actually match your vibration. Sometimes you feel so good and you shout, "I feel so good," and they match. But sometimes someone says, "How are you?" and you say, "Fine," when you're not. Sometimes you smile. Sometimes you say words that sound cheerful. Sometimes you even conjure cheerful sounding tones in your voice. But the universe does not listen to your cheerful sounding tones or your words. The universe is responding always to your vibration. So if you are feeling discouraged because you don't have enough money, that money that you've been asking for, and there's a whole lot of it, folks, we've seen it, remains in your vibrational escrow. Don't worry. It's yours. No one else is going to get it. But you're not going to get it either as long as discouragement is your dominant vibration. You can't worry about money and let the money in that you've been asking for. We would like so much for you to see the bank account of energy, clarity, money, fabulous relationships, all good things that you have launched into your vibrational future that you just aren't letting in because you are more aware of where you are than you are of where you want to be. So today we want to bring out into the light where you can feel it all through your being. We want to bring to your conscious awareness the vibrational relativity between the vibration of the thoughts that you are thinking. We're beating a drum here, beating the drum of the thought, activating the thought, activating the thought, activating the thought. You know, you only have to activate a thought for about 17 seconds before it brings another thought like it to it. So thought activation is just about focus. So when you activate a thought that says, "My parents never had enough money. We grew up and we didn't have enough money. I've never really had enough money. There are so many things I want that I cannot afford." When you beat the drum of that vibration, you keep a vibration active within you that prevents you from letting in all of this wonderful stuff that you've been asking for. Friends will often say to us, "Well, Abraham, give me the stuff and then I'll feel better." And we say, "It doesn't work that way. You've got to feel better and then the stuff will come." And you say, "Well, that just stinks, because if the universe would just make one exception for me and give me the stuff, I promise you I will feel better." And we say, "We know you would, but it can't come until there is a vibrational relationship that matches between your vibration that you are dominantly offering and the vibration of what you're asking for." So today, we are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you.
Thanks, Abraham, for calling upon me. It's a pleasure to be here. And a lot of the other influences that I have, spiritual growth, so to speak. I'm a big fan of the Power of Now. Also, a student of the Course in Miracles. And it seems like both of those philosophies advocate moving beyond thought, so to speak, and kind of basically you talk about reaching for the highest thought. Whereas a lot of these masters, so to speak, even like the people I'm influenced by in the East, they say, going beyond thought is where the supposed truth is. I'm asking from you if you can kind of see how I perceive that as a conflict, not a conflict, but like what do you call it? Two different... Contradiction, yeah, exactly.
Interesting thought. Well, we're encouraging you to reach for the best feeling thought you can find. So, in essence, we're wanting you to think from the inside out. We're wanting you to pick the essence of something and then do your best to move toward that. But you can't get around the thought that when you think a thought, you have an emotional response to that thought. Mm-hmm. And since you are creators And what a creator is a focuser of energy. We do not think that there's a more effective way of contemplating who you are and what you are about than talking about your ability to focus, your ability to think, your ability to perceive, and most importantly, your ability to guide that process. We do acknowledge that if you try to monitor your thoughts, you'll make yourself crazy. And there was a time when we called this gathering the science of deliberate creation, but we saw you all thinking too hard. In other words, your thoughts became worrisome to many of you. And so we have softened that title by calling it the art of allowing, because we are wanting you to feel your way to your thoughts. But there is no getting around. You are perceiving beings. And as you perceive, you offer vibrations. And whether you call the vibration an emotional thing or whether you call it a thinking thing, in other words, whether you say I'm remembering or I'm pondering or I'm musing or I'm imagining or I'm observing, you're focusing thought. And as you focus thought, you're activating a vibration which equals your point of attraction. And we think it is really well worth knowing you're doing it and beginning to do it on purpose. There are many teachers that when they say moving beyond thought, or when you say moving beyond thought, generally speaking, there are some who would say, it is not a good thing for you to be desirous of things. And when we have had opportunity to visit with people who were feeling very strongly that way, we said, and why are you being guided to release desire? And after some conversation, the answer is always, because I will have a more joyful life. And we say, and is that not a desire? In other words, you can't get around the fact that you are a focusing mechanism. And so we don't see any point in saying you're a focusing mechanism, but don't focus.
I see. Right. And
we think it is more a misunderstanding than it is a contradiction.
Okay. All right. But you also say that you must have a thought to have an emotion. Isn't that right? Like,
your emotions always come forth in response to an activated vibration.
Okay, so sometimes you may not be conscious of a thought. If you have an emotion, like I said, when I listen to some of my favorite music, I feel like there's an emotion that comes over me, but I'm kind of thoughtless, or I'm in a state of clarity.
You're in a state of vibration. You may not be thinking, but you certainly are offering a vibration.
All right. So basically the definition of thought is kind of ambiguous.
We think that's where the contradiction is, trying to mean exactly what someone else means when they offer the word. And well, let's talk about these unconscious thoughts for a moment, because sometimes people worry that they have unconscious thoughts that may be negatively affecting their experience. And we say it's really not possible, because if a thought is so inactive that you're not having any feeling response to it, then it's not a big player in your point of attraction. And if you are having an emotional response to it, it's not unconscious.
Sure.
So there are just a lot of people using a lot of words to make themselves worry about a lot of things that are really irrelevant.
Right. Okay.
Not you, of course. It sort of all comes back around to the same thing, doesn't it? We don't want you to overthink anything. There are moments in time where you just want to be. And by just wanting to be, you just want to focus upon something that causes you to align with source. And we want to say to you, that is thinking. That is directing thought. But there are a lot of people who think that wanting must be laced with that yearning feeling. And there are people who think that thinking must be laced with that I don't understand it feeling. And it's possible for you to think about something that you know and be in total alignment with who you are. And so we don't think that those teachers were trying to teach you away from thought. We think they wanted you to find some way of being a vibrational match to who you really are and what you really know. And when you are in the vibration of knowing what you really know, then all of that angst goes away. And that's that enlightened state that they're trying to lead you to. But it's not a state of non-thought. It's a state of thinking thought that is in vibrational relationship with source energy thought, you see. Did you get that? That is so big. That's what you've been reaching for. You feel the difference between wanting something that you know you can achieve and wanting something that you're not sure. And feel that feeling of yearning that is present in the word that most people mean by want. And that's why people argue with us when we encourage you to want or encourage you to desire, because they've been trained that that isn't a good state of being. And we say it's all semantics again. Train yourself into a vibration of wanting that feels sublime. And so now we're saying train yourself yourself into a vibration of thought that feels sublime.